Guys, the first image of the great villain of the next saga has been released, the Galactic Patrol. Moro has finally taken his first steps toward the new saga. Finally, we are excited for this great saga. Well, manga readers know very well what I'm talking about, and those who don't read will now have the opportunity to learn more about this villain and this great saga. Stick with me and come along for this big summary with many spoilers and reflections. Are you ready? So subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and turn on the notification bell. The Moro Saga, the villain who almost destroyed Universe 7. This saga begins right after the Tournament of Power, when the balance of the universe seems restored, but an ancient threat awakens from the shadows. Moro is introduced as a millennia-old sorcerer, known as the Planet Eater, a being who does not rely only on physical strength, but on magic, something rare and dangerous even for gods. Imprisoned for millions of years by the Galactic Patrol, Moro manages to escape after recovering part of his energy by absorbing the life force of an entire planet, making it clear from the beginning that he does not fight like Goku's traditional enemies. Moro's imprisonment is a direct result of the intervention of the Daikaishin, the Grand Supreme Kai, long before the events of Dragon Ball Z and Super, in an era when the gods still acted much more directly against cosmic threats. Moro was already known as an extremely dangerous sorcerer, capable of absorbing the life energy of entire planets, leaving complete systems dead and empty, something that even the gods of destruction of that time could not easily resolve without causing massive collateral damage. When Moro began advancing through the universe, the Daikaishin and the South Kaishin confronted him, and although they managed to stop him, the cost was extremely high. The South Kaishin ended up being killed, and the Daikaishin, even after winning, had to sacrifice a large portion of his own divine power to seal Moro's magical abilities, drastically weakening him. This sealing did not destroy Moro, but left him in a state where he could no longer freely consume energy or use his magic at full potential. It was at this moment that the Galactic Patrol stepped in. With Moro sealed and weakened, he could finally be captured and imprisoned in a maximum security Galactic Patrol prison, where he remained for millions of years. Therefore, the one who truly defeated Moro and made his imprisonment possible was the Daikaishin, while the Galactic Patrol was responsible for physically keeping him locked up over time. This distinction is important because it highlights the weight of the Kaishin's sacrifice and explains why Moro only became a real threat again when he slowly began recovering the energy he had lost in that ancient battle. Goku and Vegeta enter the fight believing that brute strength will be enough, but they quickly realize that Moro is different. He absorbs energy during combat, weakening his opponents as the fight goes on. Even transformed into Super Saiyan Blue, both are defeated, showing that the level of the threat is above everything they had faced since Jiren. The situation worsens when Moro gathers dangerous allies, freeing legendary criminals from Galactic Patrol prisons and forming a true army. Meanwhile, Vegeta decides to follow a different path. He goes to planet Yardrat, the same place where Goku learned instant transmission, but with another objective. There, Vegeta learns advanced spirit control techniques, developing a crucial ability, Force Spirit Fission, which allows him to undo fusions and cancel energy absorptions. This training represents enormous growth for his character, not only in power, but in maturity and strategy. The Moro Saga can and is very solidly considered Vegeta's true redemption arc, not in the sense that he explicitly asks for forgiveness or becomes completely kind, but in a deeper way consistent with Dragon Ball: responsibility, awareness, and choice. This arc closes a cycle that began back in the Saiyan Saga and had never been concluded so clearly. Throughout the franchise, Vegeta carried a past of genocide, blind pride, and mass destruction, always justified by Saiyan culture or Frieza's influence. In Dragon Ball Z, he switches sides, forms bonds, builds a family, but he never directly confronts the real consequences of his actions. He helps save Earth many times and even dies for it, but this is always mixed with anger, rivalry with Goku, or personal ambition. In the Moro Saga, this changes for the first time. Vegeta no longer fights just to win. He fights because he understands that part of the chaos in the universe is also his responsibility. This becomes explicit when Vegeta decides to go to Yardrat. Unlike Goku, who went there to move faster and get stronger, Vegeta goes with a moral purpose. He wants to learn a technique that allows him to undo energy absorption, return what was stolen, and symbolically correct the damage caused. Force Spirit Fission is not just a combat ability, it represents the opposite of who Vegeta used to be. Before, he took power, lives, and planets. Now, he gives back. The strongest moment of this arc happens when Vegeta confronts Moro on Earth. By using his technique to extract all the energy Moro had stolen over millions of years, Vegeta is not just weakening the villain, he is freeing countless worlds and souls. He openly admits that he feels the weight of the crimes he committed under Frieza's rule and states that he is not fighting only as a warrior, but as someone who needs to pay a debt. This is something unprecedented for his character in terms of narrative clarity. Even more important is what comes next. When Goku decides to spare Moro, Vegeta does not react the way his old self would have. He does not explode in rage, does not call Goku naive, and does not try to kill the villain on his own. He disagrees, but respects the decision. This self-control is perhaps the greatest sign of his redemption. The Vegeta of the past would never accept this. The Vegeta of the Moro saga understands that redemption is not about who delivers the final blow, but about taking responsibility for one's actions. For this reason, the Moro saga does not turn Vegeta into a classic hero, nor erase his past. It does something much more mature. It acknowledges his sins, gives him a unique role in resolving the conflict, and shows that his evolution no longer depends on surpassing Goku in power, but on surpassing himself. If Dragon Ball Super needed an arc that definitively justified Vegeta as someone beyond just a former villain, that arc is the Moro saga. Anyway, when Goku decides to spare Moro, the immediate consequence is proving that complete Ultra Instinct does not make Goku colder or more ruthless. It actually makes him even more faithful to his essence, and it is precisely this that almost leads to total destruction. After completely dominating Moro with absolute ease, Goku reduces the villain to the most vulnerable state possible and offers him a clear choice: return to the Galactic Patrol prison and live, or insist on the path of destruction and die. This gesture, which for Goku is consistent with everything he has always believed, creates a dangerous domino effect because Moro is not an enemy driven by pride or honor. He is an opportunistic predator. The first direct consequence is that Moro gains time. Enough time to realize that, even defeated, there is still an opening. He understands that he cannot beat Goku head-on, so he does what he has always done for millions of years. He cheats. He shoots Goku in the back, forcing Miras to intervene. This moment is crucial because it leads to the second major consequence: Miras's definitive sacrifice. By acting as an angel and breaking divine rules, Miras erases himself from existence. Although this sacrifice was motivated by the desire to protect Goku and the universe, it only happens because Goku chose to spare Moro. If Goku had finished the villain there, Miras would not have needed to intervene. The third consequence is even more serious. By absorbing Miras's data and abilities before that, Moro reaches an unstable power that he cannot fully control. When he realizes that he still cannot defeat Goku, he makes the most desperate decision possible: to fuse with Earth. At this point, Goku's choice is no longer just a personal risk. It becomes a universal threat. Moro turns into a living bomb. If he dies, the planet explodes. If he lives, he will continue draining energy until everything is destroyed. The entire universe becomes hostage to a single miscalculated decision. This situation forces Goku to face his greatest internal conflict since the beginning of Dragon Ball Super. For the first time, his compassion is not treated only as a virtue, but as a mistake with real consequences. He realizes that it is not enough to be stronger or purer. He must understand the type of enemy he is facing. Moro is not someone who can be redeemed, not someone who learns from defeat. He is the embodiment of limitless abuse of power without moral boundaries. The final consequences fall on everyone. Vegeta must act together, abandoning any trace of rivalry. The Earth's warriors enter the battlefield not to win, but to buy time. The entire planet becomes part of the battle. Goku is forced to abandon the idea of redemption and accept that, in this specific case, Moro's destruction is necessary. The final blow, powered by collective energy, is not just a victory. It is a course correction, a silent admission that sparing Moro was a mistake. Narratively, this decision changes Goku in a subtle but deep way. He does not stop being merciful, but he becomes more conscious. The saga makes it clear that Ultra Instinct is not just a combat technique. It is a state that requires discernment. Sparing Moro almost cost Earth, Miras's life, and the balance of the universe. This is the greatest consequence. Goku learns that not every enemy deserves a second chance, and this lesson echoes directly into the following arcs, where he begins to act with much more caution toward threats that have no real possibility of redemption. Vegeta holds something like a Genki-Dama, and Goku uses something like a Susanoo. This saga is truly insane. This scene works more as a symbolic reading of the climax of the Moro saga than as something literal, but the association makes a lot of sense within the visual and thematic language of the arc. In the final moment, when Moro is already fused with Earth, and the entire planet is at risk of disappearing, Dragon Ball abandons the classic one-on-one logic and enters almost mythological territory, and that is where the feeling of Vegeta holding a Genki-Dama while Goku uses something like a Susanoo begins to make sense. Vegeta does not literally hold a Genki-Dama like Goku did against Frieza or Kid Buu, but the role he assumes is very close to that. He becomes the pillar that sustains collective hope. Vegeta coordinates the Earth's warriors, keeps Moro under control as much as possible, and, most importantly, publicly recognizes that the planet's energy must be preserved and returned, not exploited. This is the opposite of the old Vegeta. He acts like someone protecting life around him, while Goku prepares for the final blow. Narratively, Vegeta is holding the world, holding time, holding the chance of survival. That is why many fans interpret this moment as him symbolically sustaining Earth's Genki-Dama. Meanwhile, Goku, with complete Ultra Instinct, enters a state never shown before in the franchise. He no longer fights just with his body. His aura expands in a colossal way, completely enveloping his being and creating a gigantic presence, almost spiritual. Visually, the manga shows Goku as a luminous entity above Earth, with a body of energy so massive that it goes beyond the normal scale of Dragon Ball fights. This strongly resembles the concept of a Susanoo, not in the technical Naruto sense, but in the archetypal idea, an avatar of energy that represents the user's will, consciousness, and absolute power. At this moment, Goku stops being just a warrior and becomes an extension of the planet's own defense. He is no longer exchanging blows, he is delivering a final judgment. The traditional Genki-Dama always required concentration, external help, and a pure emotional state. Here, all of that happens in a more advanced way. Goku does not raise his hands to the sky. The entire planet is already connected to him. The energy flows because it trusts him. The giant aura works like a channel, a receptacle, almost like a temporary divine body created by Ultra Instinct. The contrast is what makes the scene so powerful. Vegeta, the former destroyer of worlds, is now the one ensuring that the world survives long enough to be saved. Goku, the classic hero who always solved everything with a direct punch, now needs the energy, trust, and unity of everyone. Neither of them wins alone. There is no rivalry there. There is function. Vegeta anchors, Goku executes. One sustains the universe, the other becomes the instrument the universe uses to defend itself. That is why this reading, Vegeta holds the Genki-Dama and Goku uses a Susanoo, works so well, even if it is not literal. It perfectly translates what the Moro saga wanted to communicate in its ending. At that moment, Dragon Ball stopped being only about who is stronger and became about roles, choices, and responsibility. In that sense, that final battle is not just a fight, it is the definitive consecration of both characters' evolution.